Hi friends, welcome to IAS and College Connect YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to discuss about JSON CRUD operations. So before we are going to perform the JSON CRUD operations, we are going to create a reactive form design with custom validations. Let's see how to implement the reactive form when we will be proceed to the CRUD operations. In this video sessions, we are going to see how to implement the reactive form like this. Here you see the user need to give the proper valid data, otherwise it is going to throw an error message. So this is the topic we are going to discuss on this today video sessions. Please don't skip the video, otherwise you will be miss some parts. So let's see how to implement this form. For that, I'm going to create new component. Okay, so there is registration component. For that, I'm going to use the command ngg and c, and then that should be followed by component folder. Under the component folder, I'm having the register. Okay, so under the component folder, we are going to create a register component. Here you see, it is better to keep one all the component under one component folder so that it is easier for you to. Okay, so now I'm removing the spec.tss. Here you see in the HTML file, we're having paragraph tag slash registration was. Okay, in TS file, we don't have anything. So what we are going to do, we can able to, in case if you want to display the registration component, so there's a two way. One is in the app.component.html, you're going to include the selector tag, which we already discussed. Okay, so here you see, this is a registration component TS file. I'm just going to copy the selector tag and I'm going to put it on the app.component.html file, that is the main component, and saving it. Okay, so now you see I'm just going to open the browser. You'll be see that so this registration component it default loaded in the app component, that is main component. There is the other way. So by without using the selector tag, so we are going to use a router outlet. Okay, so what the router outlet means, so in case the user is going to give any URL on the URL window, it is going to check the one file, that is a router module. In the router module, we are going to routing module file, we are going to write. So in case user is going to give some URL link, so which component need to be load for the particular URL link. Okay, so for that we need to use key and value pair. Okay, so so path is key and then the value is, so we need to give the URL name for this particular component. Here you see I'm going to give the register. Okay, so now I'm going to give, in case the user is going to give register, so which component need to load. Okay, so I'm going to co- copy this registration component and I'm going to paste it here. Here, when the user is going to give slash register, at the time only it is going to load the register component. Otherwise, it is going to load only the content which is there in the app.component.html. Here you see, first I'm going to type in the app.component.html. I'm just going to type home component. Okay, so and below we are having the router outlet. Okay, so here is the home component. Now I'm going to give slash registration. Okay, so slash register. What is the URL? Okay, so slash register. Slash register. Okay, so now it is not coming. So we need to save or okay, so now we're going to give slash register. Now you see, under the home app component, we're having this content. Why? Because we given slash register. So what it is going to do, it is going to check the app.routing.module file. So it is going to check what is the which component need to be load for this slash register. Here you see for slash register, which component need to load? It need to load the register component. Okay, so that the entire component, the register component content is load to the app.component.html because of this router outlet. This router outlet is going to check so what component should be loaded for the slash register. Okay, so for slash register, we need to load the register component. Now you see here we are hard coding the URL in the address bar. Instead of that, we are going to use anchor tag to navigate to the particular component. Let's see how to implement that. So for that, I'm just going to move to the HTML file. I'm just going to, instead of using this hard coding this value, I'm going to use the anchor tag. So I'm just going to write the anchor tag, anchor A, and then router link equal to, we need to go give the path exactly which we given on here. Okay, so here you see we are giving the register. Okay, so in the router link we have to give register, and here we are going to give the text which is need to be displayed on the app.component.html file. So now when the user is going to click this register data text, it is navigate to this slash register. It is going to check what is the component should be called for this register. So in the app.routing model, okay, so here you see for the register which component need to call, it need to call the register component. So this register component, what we written on the register component, here you see I'm just going to use paragraph tag. So register component, I'm just typing register component. So this particular component text is going to be display on the router outlet tag, inside the router outlet tag. Okay, so now you see we are going to see the output. Here I'm just going to remove this and I'm going to load the default text, default URL. Okay, so now you see we got register data, which we given on the anchor tag. Now when the user is going to click the register data, here you see it is going to check what component should be called for the slash register in the router file. Here you see we call register component. So this particular component is get displayed on here. Now what we are going to do, we are going to create a simple form inside this register component, and we are going to perform the reactive form validations. For that, I'm just going to move to this global style CSS file, and I'm going to write the global CSS design. Before that, I'm just going to create a form. Okay, so first I'm going to create a form. This form section should start with section and will be contains the class as container. Here under this section, and I'm going to have the header tag. And I'm going to have the header tag. Here I'm going to display the information register form. Register form. Okay, so now under this header tag, I'm going to have the form tag. So this form tag will contains the class, which the class's name is itself as a form. Now under this form tag, we are going to have list of controls. Under this form tag, we are going to have list of controls like getting the username, password, mobile numbers, all this information. So for that, each control I'm going to cover with div tag. So this div tag should have the class name as class name equal to input box. Okay. So now under this, we are having the label tag. So label tag, first I'm going to get the full name from the user, or we can give username. User name. Okay. So now under this, I'm having one input tag, which is going to be a type of text. And I'm going to give the placeholder as username. Okay, right. Okay, so here I'm going to close this input tag here. That should be followed by all other input tag. Okay, so we are going to get the username, and then that should be followed by, we are going to get the email. Email. Okay, so here, okay, so do tag. This div tag. Okay. So we are not closing this label tag properly. Okay. So now that's why we are having the warning message on the div. So after that, I'm going to get the mobile number. Another control. Okay. So this control is used to get the mobile number. Okay, done. Okay. So now you see we are going to get username, email, that should be followed by mobile number. So now we are going to create one more div tag, so which will be contains two controls. One is for getting the date of birth. Another one is for getting the, so we can cover this mobile number under also in the column. Okay, so one column will contains two data. Okay, so I'm just going to cover this div class equal to column. So one column, one row will contains two column. This div tag, another control, that is for getting the date of birth from the students. Date of birth. Okay. So here in the placeholder, I'm just going to type date of birth. Okay. So now we are going to see the output for this particular control. Here is it. So this is our form. Okay. So now you see this form is not looking that much good, right? Okay. So for that, we are going to write the CSS design. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to write global design on global designs in the style.css file. Okay, so for that, I'm just going to navigate to this style.css file and I'm going to write the all the designs. Okay, so here you see, this is style.css. So whatever the design coding you are going to return in this style.css file, this design is going to be applicable for all the components. So first I'm going to use universal selector, that is a star. Under this, I'm just going to use a margin, which is going to be 0 pixels. That should be followed by padding, and is also going to be 0. So that should be followed by box sizing. I'm going to give border box. Okay, so now then that should be followed by font family. I'm just going to use sans serif. Okay, so now you see we are going to write a body tag, design for our body tag. So now I'm going to write a design for the body tag. So here I'm just going to write min height is going to be a 100 view height. Okay, so that is it takes the entire screen. Okay, so 100 view height. Okay, so now I'm going to write the display designs. Okay, so display is going to be a flex. I'm going to give the flex. So now I'm going to write align item. Okay, so what is the use of align item means? Align item is going to be align the item vertically. Okay, so vertically I just want this content should be on center. Okay, so then justify content. Okay, so it is going to be align the content on horizontally. Justify content is going to align the content on horizontally. Okay, so that's also going to be on center. Okay, so I'm just going to give the padding as 30 pixels. 30 pixels. So now I'm going to give the background color. Okay, so background image, I'm going to use a linear gradient. Okay, so linear gradient. Okay, so I'm just going to give some 150-degree, which is going to be some colors, hash 123, comma, hash 123. Okay, so I'm just going to choose two colors. Okay, so one is this color, another one is going to be, okay, so this color. I'm just going to save this and I move into this. Here you see our background design is, we finish our background design. Now we are going to write a design for this forms, the entire forms. Okay. So now I'm just going to write the design for the entire form. For that, first here you see we need to write a design for the container class in that particular component. Okay. So previously we written the design for the universal, that is entire form. Now we are going to write the design for one particular component. Okay. So I'm just going to remove this register component.css for existing code. I'm going to write for the first class. That is, what is the first class in the HTML file? First, we need to write a design for this container. Okay, so it is a class, so that we need to use dot slash dot, that should be followed by the container. Here, I'm just going to write and where this particular content should be appear. Okay, so here I'm going to write the position should be on relative. Okay, so then that should be followed by the max width, the maximum how much width it can take. Okay, so it is going to be, I'm just going to give 700 pixels. Okay, so that should be followed by width is going to be 100 percentage. Now I want to give the background color for this. Okay, so I'm just going to write the background color, which is going to be white color. right? Okay, so then that should be followed the padding. Okay, so that is how much space should be take around this. Okay, so the padding I'm just going to give exactly some 25 pixels, and then border radius. Okay, so border radius means the curve, the edges. Okay, so how the edges I want to be, I'm just going to give 10 pixels. Okay, so I'm just going to write one more, that is one more properties, that is box shadow. Here we need to pass 5 arguments. First one is for left to right, how much shadow should be appear. Okay, so here you see I'm just going to give 10 pixels. Okay, so then top to bottom. Okay, so top to bottom 10 pixels, and then that should be followed by the blur effect. Okay, so how much blur effect I want, that should be followed by some color code. Here you see I'm saving. Here you will be find this blur effect, right? Okay, so here this blur effect. Okay, so this is a blur effect. I don't want this much blur. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll be just going to change to 100. So first I'll teach you. So what is this 10 pixels means? Okay, so here you see I'm just going to change the 10 pixels to 1 pixels. Here you'll be find this blur effect will be moving from left to right. Okay, how much space I require. Okay, so that is for the first argument. Okay, so in case if you want should this blur effect appear near to it, okay, so then you can give 10 pixels. Okay, second argument is nothing but top to bottom. Okay, so here is I'm going to give 100 pixels. Okay, the blur effect will come from top to bottom, how much space it need to take. Okay, so 100 pixels. Okay, so then that should be followed by 100 pixels. Okay, so that is how much blur effect appearance should be you want. Okay, so here you see we give 100 pixels so that the blur effect is very dull. Okay, so now you see I'm just going to give this 100 pixels. Okay, how strong it should be. Okay, so here you see it is cover the entire screen. Okay, so we don't want like this. Okay, so just I'm just give 50 pixels. Now you see you'll be see this blur effect. Okay, so how strong it should be. Okay, so you want this, you don't want this much strong, right? Okay, so you can give 10 pixels. Okay, so then it is a minimum effect. Okay, here we are changing this blur effect to 10 pixels to 1 pixels. Sorry, 10 pixels to 50 pixels. Okay, so it is okay, good looking, right? Okay, so but this blur effect is appearing from one side only, right? Okay, so in case if you want on another side also means you can, what you need to do, so you can copy this, and you can put one more comma. Okay, so where you need to give minus value for the left to right and minus value for top to bottom. Okay, so you'll be find this blur effect should appear on around this form, around this container. Okay, so as of now we don't want like this. I'm just removing it. Okay, so it's more than enough. Okay, so now we are going to write the design for the next control, which is there in the inside the form. Okay, so finish for the controller. Now we need to write for the header. Okay, so I'm moving to the CSS. We are going to write for the header. Okay, so header tag. Under this header we are going to write what is the font size should be. Okay, so font size I'm just going to give font hyphen size. Okay, so I'm just going to give 1.5 rem. Okay, so then that should be followed by color. Okay, so what is the color for the particular font? Okay, so I'm just going to give hash 123. Okay, so then that should be followed by font weight, font hyphen weight. Font weight I'm just going to give some 500, and then I'm going to make this text align. Okay, so where the text should be, the text should be on the center positions. Okay, so save this. Now you see we having like this. Okay, so make it to 100 percentage. Okay, done. Okay, so now you see we are going to write for that. What's the next one? After this header tag, we need to write for the form. Okay, so we need to write for this form. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to move to this form control. Okay, so then this form is comes under. Okay, so where this header, why it is not appearing properly? Okay, so it should be the header should be comes under the controller container, right? Okay, so that we need to call the container first. That should be followed by the header. Okay, so done. Okay, so now we are going to write for the form. Okay, so the form where it is exit under the container. Okay, so we are going to write the container first. Okay, so first dot container, that should be followed by form tag. Okay, so form, here you see this, yeah, for form, this form also a class, so that we need to use dot symbol. Okay, so now we are going to write the conditions for the form, that is margin top. Okay, so margin top, how much space we require? It is 30 pixels. Okay, done. Okay, so now we are going to write for the all the controls which is there in the HTML file. Okay, so now you see we finished form. Then we are moving to this input box. So we are going to move to this input box. First, we need to write uh, dot input box. Okay, so this input box will comes under the this input box will comes under the form. Okay, so we are going to write form, that should be followed by input box. Form slash input. Okay, so you're going to write the condition for this. Okay, so input box, the width of this input box is going to be, uh, we can give 100 percentage. Is it okay? Okay, so then I'm going to give margin top for this. So margin top, I'm just going to give 20 pixels. Done. Okay, so now you see we are going to write the label. Okay, so what text color we want for this particular form label. Okay, so which is this label is present inside this input box. Okay, so I'm just going to first choose the input box, and then that should be followed by label. Okay, so for this label, I want to choose the color code for this label is going to be a #123. Okay, so now we are going to write for all the input which is present under this input box. Okay, so all the controls which is present on the input box dot form. Okay, so that should be followed by dot input box. Under this we are having input. Okay, so here we are going to write the all the conditions for this all the controls which is present on the HTML file. Okay, so here you see we are having the input text in, then that should be followed by data, but everything, right? Okay, so we are going to write the CSS design for each of us. Okay, so now we are going to write the position which is going to be relative, and then I'm going to fix the height for it. Okay, so each form the height is going to be a 50 pixels, and then that should be followed by width is going to be a I'm just going to give 100 percentage and the cover the entire form, cover the entire content. Okay, so now you see cover the entire, but it is not looking good, right? Okay, so I'm just going to give the outline is going to be none. Okay, so after that you will be fine. After that it will be the outline for this particular input box is going to be none. Then I'm just going to set the font size for this. The font size I'm just going to give 1 rem. Then that should be followed by color for this particular. Okay, so that is text color. Okay, so I'm just going to give some 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then margin. Okay, so how much space is required between each controls? Okay, so I'm just going to give margin top as 8 pixels. Is it okay? Okay, so done. Okay, so then that should be followed by I'm going to give the border. That is border uh, is going to be 1 pixels, or we can give 0.5 pixels, and then I'm going to use groove. Okay, so then color is going to be ash DDD. Okay, so done. Okay, so now you see we can, or else we can give 1 pixels. Sorry, done. Okay, so now you see we are going to give the border radius. Here you see the edges is very sharp, right? We don't want this edges to be too short. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to reduce the border radius. Okay. So border radius, which I'm going to give it as 6 pixels. Okay, now you see the edges is curve. Okay, so curve edges, we got the curve edges. Okay, so then I'm going to write the text which is appearing inside, right? Okay, so it is starting from here. We don't want to start this text from here. So we want to give some space in between. Okay, so I'm just going to use padding. Okay, so that is first one is going to be 1 and that should be followed by 15 pixels. Okay, so first one is going to be top to bottom. Okay, so 15 is going to be left and right. Okay, so here you see after I'm going to give this 15, I'm going to click the refresh. You will be find this text is going to be start from here. Okay, when the user is going to type. Okay, so is it that I say, so I need to give this 10 pixels. Yes. Okay, so first argument is left to right, second argument is going to be top and bottom. Okay, so now we are going to write another thing. Okay, so when the user is going to focus on this particular box, okay, so we need to give some highlight effect, right? Okay, so we need to give some highlight effect. Okay, so what I am going to do, so I'm just going to, when the user is going to focus on this, we are going to give some shadow effect behind this. Okay, shadow effect behind this. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to move to this. So same control, okay, same control, input box. And then when the user is going to focus on this, when the user is going to click the particular text box, what type of shadow effect I want to give. Okay, so box shadow. Okay, so I already explained. Okay, so box shadow is going to be 1 pixels, and then another one is going to be 1 pixels, then 0 pixels, and then color gradient. So I'm just going to give light, very light effect. Okay, so let's check. So we need to do 1 pixels. Okay, little bit blur effect. Blur effect. Okay, so now you see it's okay. So in case if you don't want this color, you want to be very light effect, we can also change it. Okay, got it. Okay, so now you see we so when the user is going to click this particular text box, we are focusing it. Okay, so for that we are going to write this colon focus. Okay, so that is inside this form we are having input box, under this we are having input. Okay, so for the each control we return this design for this each control. So for this each control, when the user is going to click the particular text box, what type of shadow we want to give. Okay, so that we return. Okay, so now we are going to write for the uh, this column. Okay, so here you see we are having the column, right? Okay, so under this column we are having two controls. Okay, so for that I'm just going to write for the column. Okay, so this column is comes under the forms, so that I'm just going to write first to choose the forms dot form. Okay, so that column. Okay, so under this column I'm just going to give display as flex. Then I'm just going to give how much gap should be there. Okay, so column and gap. Okay, so column and gap, how much gap I require. Okay, so I'm going to give 15 pixels. Now you see under this to control, we got column and gap is going to be 15 pixels. If you're going to reduce the space, means you'll be fine there is no space between each of this. Okay, so we don't want this, we want actually some space, so that I'm just going to give 15 pixels. Now you see we are going to write for this next control, which is there is, what is the next control we are having? The next control we are having is we need to write a button, right? Okay. So for button, we are going to use the submit button. Okay. So we are going to use the submit button. That is inside it. Okay. So inside it, I'm just going to write button, which is going to be type equal to submit. Okay. So type equal to submit and then value. Oh, sorry. Value here I need to give value. So register. Okay, so we are having the register button here. Now we are going to write the design for this register button. Okay, so this register button, this is a button tag, right? Okay, so which is comes under the form. Okay, so form class form. Okay, so I'm just going to choose the form first. Okay, so dot form. Okay, so that should be followed by button tag, right? Okay, so button. Okay, so under this, I'm just going to mention the height for this particular button. Okay, so height, I'm just going to give 55 pixels. Okay, so then that should be followed by width, which is going to be a I'm just going to give copy the entire that is occupy the entire space. Okay, so that I'm just going to give 100 percentage. Okay, so now you see it's occupy the entire space. Okay, now I'm just going to write the color for this. Okay, so the text color. Okay, so the text color I'm just going to give hash FFF. Okay, white color. Okay, so and then the font size. Okay, so font size I'm just going to give font hyphen size. I'm just going to give 1 rem. Okay, done. So now I'm going to give the font weight. Okay, so font weight, VIGHT. Oh, sorry, font hyphen weight. Okay, so here I'm going to give font weight is going to be 400. Okay, so then that should be followed by margin hyphen top. Okay, so how much space I require from this particular control to this particular control. Okay, so for that I'm just going to give margin top is going to be 30 pixels. Here you see there is a space. Now we got the space between each control. Okay, so that is a mobile number onto this register button. Okay, so now we are going to create the border for it. Okay, so border which is going to be none. Okay, so here you see there is no border is appear. Okay, so now we are going to give the cursor. Okay, so now when the user is going to move to this particular button, we need instead of this mouse arrow mark. Okay, so we need some pointers. Okay, so for that I'm just going to use cursor is going to be pointer. Here you see we got it. Previously we are having the arrow mark, now we are having the cursor pointer. Okay, so now I'm going to write the background for it. Okay, so background color. Okay, so background color which is going to be hash 123. I'm just going to choose some light color. Okay, so now you see we got it. Okay, so now we want to write border radius for it. Okay, so border hyphen radius. Okay, so the curve. Okay, so I'm just going to give 10 pixels. If we find 10 pixels, that is curve edge, right? Okay, so previously it is not curve edge, sharp edge. Now it is going to be curve edge. Okay, so now when the user is going to move to this particular button, so we need to be give some background shadow. Okay, so for that I'm just going to write the same, copy this content. I'm going to write when the user is going to hover to this particular control. I'm just going to give the background color. Okay, so background color is going to be mm, some color other than this blue color, white. Okay, okay. So I'm just going to give the background color to this, and then text color is going to be white. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so instead of giving this, okay, instead of giving like this, so we can use this body tag. Two colors we are having, right? Okay, so I'm just going to use this color. So use this color here. Both are same. Okay, so you'll be fine little bit. Okay, so now you see we did the form design. Now we are going to bind this form control to our reactive form. Okay, so for that what we need to do first thing. So first thing we are going to do is we are going to create an form group in the HTML in the TypeScript file. Okay, so for that, I'm just moving to this TypeScript file. Here, I'm going to create a form group that should be followed by form builder. Okay, so what I'm going to do form. Okay, so FG not equal to. Okay, so then form group. Okay, so before we are going to work it on this reactive form, first thing we need to do is we need to import this reactive form module. Already I imported it. Okay, so here you see I'm just going to move to this TypeScript file, form group. Okay, so form group. So then we are going to have the constructor. Inside this constructor, so what we need to do, first thing we are going to inject the form builder. Okay, so first thing we are going to inject the form module. So for that, form builder. Okay, so form builder colon. Okay, so it is going to be a form builder, form builder. Okay, so now you see we are going to during this after the constructor call, we are going to bind this HTML file to the TypeScript file in the ng on init lifecycle. Okay, so we are going to use implements for that on init. Okay, so here I'm going to implement the unimplement method. Okay, so I'm just going to click this implement the unimplement method. Here we are going to do all the binding process. Okay, so first thing we are going to form group. Okay, so as I already explained about the form group, about the reactive form in the previous videos, in my you can watch this on my playlist. Okay, so you can understand what is reactive form, everything. Okay, what is form group, form builder. Okay, so first we are going to use form group. Okay, so then we are going to use this dot form builder dot group. Here we are going to create a form control for each of the form control which you are having on here. Okay, so for that, first here you see I'm just going to create form group. Under this we are going to write the conditions. Okay, so first one is going to be what? First one is going to be a username, and that should be followed by email. Okay, so username and email. First we are going to write for the username. Okay, so user name. Okay, so for that, so what is the conditions we are going to write? Okay, so for username, so initially we are going to set it as null values, and that should be followed by, so we are going to write this field is going to be required file. User must need to pass the values for it. Okay, so that I'm going to use validators dot required. Okay, so validators dot required. Okay, so then that should be followed by another control. What is another control here? You see, what is another control we are having? Username, that should be followed by email. Okay, so we are going to write for the email too. Okay, so email. Okay, so colon. Okay, so then I'm going to write the condition. Okay, so what is the conditions? It should satisfy two conditions. Okay, so two conditions. One is going to be required. So sorry, we can set three conditions. One is going to be a required field. Another one is going to be a via email. It should be in the email format, and then we are going to write the pattern for it. Okay, so for that, how we are going to write the for this validations, for setting three validations. For that, first one is going to be required. So that required validators dot required. The next one is going to be the values which is given by the user should be on the email format. So that email, and the next one is going to be validators should satisfy this pattern. Okay, so the pattern value I'm going to set it later. Okay, so first we are going to bind all other properties. Okay, all other form controls. Okay, so here we are having username, email, that should be followed by mobile number. Okay, so here you see mobile number. Okay, so here initially it should be set it as null, and I'm going to set the validators for this. It is going to be required field, validators dot required. Okay, so then after that I'm just going to set the validators for the next one, which is going to be a mobile number set, right? Okay, so this next one is going to be date of birth. Okay, so date of birth. So for this, I'm just going to set initially is going to be null. Okay, so then I'm just going to write two validators. One is going to be a inbuilt, another one is going to be a customized one. Okay, so what is the inbuilt means? It is required. Another one is going to be, I'm just going to write the customized validation. Okay, so for that, I'm going to write this dot some method. Okay, so just I'm going to give date of birth validator, date of birth validator. Okay, so we need to create a this method inside this TypeScript file itself. Okay, so inside the TypeScript file itself, I'm going to write the method. Okay, so here I'm going to write the method that is this is a method name, right? Date of birth validator. Okay, so date of birth validator. Okay, so we need to pass the values. Okay, so that we are going to use abstract, abstract control. Okay, so it is going to return the values whether it is going to be validation error or null. Okay, so validation errors or null value. It is going to return two values. One is going to be validators or else another one is going to be null values. Okay, so here we are going to write the conditions. Okay, so first we are going to write the pattern for it. Okay, so that is const. Okay, so now I am going to write d pattern. D pattern is nothing but date of birth pattern. So it should satisfy the conditions. Okay, so for that we are going to start with the symbol and end with end with dollar slash. Okay, so in between we are going to write the pattern. Okay, so what is the pattern? It should contain digit. Okay, so for that it is going to be contain four digit. First one is going to be year, and then that should be followed by hyphen, and then so it should be another digits. Okay, so it is going to be month, right? Okay, so month will contains two digits. Okay, so sorry, two digits. That should be followed by year. Okay, so slash d is for digits. Okay, date is having only two digits, maximum of two digit only, right? Okay, so that two. Okay, so now you see we are going to check this condition whether this user given value satisfy this pattern or not. So for that I'm just going to check if not. Okay, so that is this is the pattern, this is holding the pattern, right? Okay, so not date of pattern, sorry, date of pattern dot test. Okay, so here we are going to get the values. This is the control. This control will contains the values, right? Okay, control dot we are going to inject the value, so that control dot value. Okay, so if it is satisfied, if it is not satisfied, user given values is not satisfied, we are going to return the status. Okay, so return the status, that is invalid date is going to be set it as true. Invalid date is going to be returned true. Okay, so or else, okay, so we are going to return null. In case if the user is given the exact value, okay, so we are going to null, return null, right? Okay, so now you see we are going to we finished all the controls. Now we are going to bind this. As of now, I'm just going to remove this pattern. E for the email. Okay, so now you see we are going to bind this form group to this HTML file. So for that, what we need to do, so we are going to first you are going to use uh, form group. Okay, so that is a property binding. Okay, so in the form, I'm just going to write property binding. That is inside this, I'm just going to use a form group. Okay, so what is a form group we created in the TypeScript file? So in the form group, what is the form group name? It is FG. Under this FG only, we are having form builder, right? So that is form group name is going to be FG. Okay, so now when the user is going to click the submit button, it is going to call on ng submit. Okay, so ng submit method. Okay, so ng submit, it is going to call the method. It is going to be submit data. It is going to call which method? Submit data. Okay, so when the user is going to type all the values and click this but submit button, it is going to call the submit data. Okay, so here it is throwing error. Why? Because we don't have this method inside this TypeScript file. Okay, so now I'm going to create a method submit data. Now you see this error is found. This error is found. Now we are going to write the condition for each of this. Okay, so now we need to write a condition for each of this. So first what we need to do, we are going to write the conditions. First we check with this form group. Form control name. We need to bind this, right? Okay, so in template driven form, we are going to ng model, but for this reactive form, we need to give form control name. Okay, so we need to bind this HTML control to that TypeScript control by using the form control name. Okay, so now this value, whatever the values which is user is given, that we are going to pass it through TypeScript file by using this form control name, that is username. Okay, so here is the username. This name and this name should be same. Okay, so here that should be followed by another form control name. Okay, so what is a form control for the email? Okay, so for email, it is a email itself. Okay, so here, so placeholder, we need to change the placeholder to, okay, so we need to give the exact name which is mentioned on the TypeScript file. Okay, so it is email, right? Email, email. Okay, so then that should be followed by, we need to change the placeholder. It should be the email ID. Okay, so now we are going to create form control name for this mobile number. Form control name should be uh, for the mobile number. What is the form control name for this mobile number? It is mobile number itself. Okay, so then here we are going to change the placeholder name, that is mobile number. Okay, so for the date of birth, what is the form control name? It is a date of birth itself. Okay, date of birth. So we can give the input type as a date. Okay, so we need to write a customized validation so that only I give the text over here. Okay, so we are going to give form control name equal to date of birth. Date of birth. Now you see we finish everything. Okay, so now you see we are going to check the condition whether the user given value is get satisfied or not. Okay, so here you see what is the condition for this username. It should be required. What is the email? It is going to be valid. Okay, so that is, it should be in the email format. Okay, so then that should be followed by, we are going to write one more condition, right? Okay, so that is a pattern. Okay, so now I'm going to write this pattern for this validators dot pattern. Here we are going to write the regular expression for the email. Okay, so what is the regular expression for the email means? Okay, so here it should be start with the symbol and end with this symbol, sorry, end with this dollar symbol and slash. In between we are going to write the condition. Okay, so how the email should be look like? Email should be comes under some name. It will contains a name, alphanumerical value, and it will be contain some special character also, right? Okay, so we are going to write the pattern over here. It should contain small a to capital Z, and then small is k to small z, and capital A to capital Z, and will be contains 0 to 9. Okay, so then it will be contain some special character. It may contain, so you can write whatever the conditions you want. Okay, so it contains a dot, or it can contains underscore, and it can contains a percentage, and then it can contains plus symbol and minus symbol. Okay, so you can mention anything. Okay, so now the username, that is before your at symbol, what are the conditions, what are the characters should be present, we mention over here. That should be followed by at symbol, right? Okay, so after that at symbol, what are the characters it should allow? It should allow a to small a to small z, and capital A to capital Z, and then that should be followed by 0 to 9. Okay, so then that should be followed by, it allow dot symbol, or else it allow hyphen z and minus symbol. Okay, so then after that we want some dot symbol, right? Okay, at gmail.com. Okay, so here you see these are the characters is get allowed. Okay, so it occur one or more time. Okay, so plus symbol is for one or more time. Okay, so after this gmail dot. Okay, so then we having the com, right? Okay, so for that, what are the characters should allow? Okay, so small a to, sorry, small a to small z, and then that should be followed by capital A to capital Z. Okay, sorry, capital Z. Okay, so how many characters it should allow? Okay, so minimum of, we are having two or three, not more than that, right? Okay, so we can give or else if you are going to we can mention it like this, 2 to 4 characters. Okay, minimum of 2, maximum of 4. Okay, so then that should be followed by so we need to end this, right? Okay, I hope it is right. So first it is going to start with this, then right. Okay, so now we return customized validation as well as the pattern validation. Okay, so here in case if you want to write for the mobile number also, you can write. Okay, so how we are going to write for the mobile number? Validators dot pattern. Okay, so here inside this pattern you are going to give it like this. Okay, so dollar and slash digits. Okay, so that is digits should be sorry, digits should be 10 characters. Sorry, 10 digits. Okay, 10 digits. Okay, so here you can put dollar symbol and then slash. That's it. Okay. So here we are going to check the condition for this. Okay. So here we are going to check the condition for the username. First, we are going to check the condition for the username. Now we return all the necessary conditions for each control. Okay. So for the username, it is going to be required. For email, it should satisfy required email and then pattern. For mobile number, it should satisfy required and then pattern. For date of birth, it is going to be satisfied required as well as a date of birth validators. So it is going to be customized validator. Okay, so customized validator should be created as a method. In case if you want to call this particular method inside the validators means this dot date validator. Okay, so here you see it is going to accept the values. That value we are going to test by using control dot value. Okay, so here we have written the pattern. Okay, so what the pattern it is going to be? It is going to be digit should be 4. That is year should be 4 digit 4. Then month and then date. Okay, so here we are going to check the condition whether the user given values is satisfied this pattern or not. In case if it is not satisfied, it is going to set the invalid date as a true or else it is going to return null. Okay, so now we are going to check this condition and in case the user is not given anything which is any condition which is not satisfied means data which is not satisfied means we are going to throw an error message. Okay, so first I'm going to write for this email. Okay, so first I'm going to write for the email. For that, I'm just going to open the div class. Under this div class, I'm going to check three conditions. Okay, so first I'm going to write div condition, and now I'm going to write the div tag. Okay, so now div tag will contains ng if star ng if. Okay, so then I'm going to get the form group name. Okay, so here you see this all controls is present inside the form group, right? Okay, so first we need to get the form group name. Okay, so what is the form group name here? We are having FG. Okay, so that is FG dot. Okay, so we are going to use the get method. Under this get method, we are going to get one particular control. That is, what is a particular control? It is the email, right? Okay, so we are going to get the email. Okay, so we are going to get the email and then we are going to check is it is valid or not. Okay, so is it is valid or not? If it is valid, okay, so then we are going to okay, so then if it is invalid means, okay, so none of the condition, whatever the conditions we return on here, it is going to return true. Okay, so that is in case user is not given any values or in case user is not given email in the correct order or it is not satisfy the pattern means it is going to return true. Okay, so that is what the invalid is all about. Okay, so invalid will check all the necessary condition which is written on here. Okay, so then invalid, then what we are going to do? Then when the user is going to touch or dirty, okay, so we are going to write the condition. Okay, so for that, okay, so I explain detail about what is touch, what is dirty, all the states in the template driven form. Okay, so please refer it. Okay, so in case if you don't know about the what is touch and dirty, okay, so fg dot get. Okay, so here you see we are going to get email, right? Okay, so email. Okay, so under this we are going to check is it is dirty. Okay, or or any one of this gets condition is get satisfied means it is going to throw an error message. Okay, so get email. Okay, so email and then email. Okay, so if it is going to be touch touched. Okay, so if it is touched, okay, so then what error message we need to throw. Okay, so here we are going to check another conditions. Okay, so the user given each of the conditions we are going to type. Each of this condition we are going to check. Okay, so what is the each of this condition means? Okay, so here invalid means it is going to return true. What is the invalid? When the invalid is going to return true. So here you see in case if it is any one of this condition is get satisfied means it is going to return true. First we are going to check whether it satisfies the required field or not, right? Okay, so for that I'm just going to write the condition. Okay, so for that I'm going to write one more condition ng if. So now we are going to check one more condition. if sorry, form group name dot get. Okay, so form group name dot get. Okay, so what is the control? That is the email, right? Okay, so in case the email is uh, as a required field is not satisfied. Okay, so email dot hash error. Okay, so hash error of which condition? Required. Okay, so if it is not satisfied the required field, required. Sorry, required. Okay, so if it is not satisfied the required field, what error message I need to display? Okay, so here I'm going to type the error message. Email is required. Email is required. Okay, so I'm going to write for the other field also. Okay, so what are the other field for the email? Okay, so one is going to be a pattern, another one is going to be a email. Okay, so that is here I'm going to write another condition, that is email. Okay, so here you see what is another one? It is email. Okay, so what is the other one? Pattern. Okay, so I'm going to check for the pattern too. Email hash error, which is going to be required. Sorry, pattern. Okay, so when this particular condition is satisfied, we are going to display the information. User need to give this field. This field is a must. Okay, user need to give, so that we are printing email is required. So when this particular condition is get triggered, we are going to display the information, that is email should please enter the valid email. Okay, so please enter a valid email. Okay, so when this pattern condition is get satisfied, in case the user is not given the proper pattern, means please enter the valid email format. Okay, so now you see we finish this. Okay, so as of now what I did is, okay, so I'll be going to explain now. Okay, so here you see we're having TypeScript file. Okay, so in this TypeScript file, we are having the form group. Okay, so this form group we are initiating is, okay, so then we are having the constructor. Inside this constructor, we are going to initiate the form builder. So when this particular component is get initiated, so we are going to write a conditions for the form control. Okay, so that we are going to use this dot fg equal to this dot fb dot group. Okay, so then we are going to write condition for each form control. Okay, so username, email, and mobile number. For username, we are going to write simple conditions, that is required only. For email, we are going to write three conditions. One is going to be required, another one is going to be email, another one is going to be pattern. Okay, for mobile number, we have said required, another one is going to be pattern, and date of birth, we have said one is going to be required, another one is going to be customized validator. Now, we are going to bind this particular control to the HTML file. Okay, so that what I did. Okay, so for this each control we are given form control name. Okay, so form control name, this name should be matched with this conditions which we given on here, right? Okay, so then this form should be having the property binding, that is a form group. This name should be matched with the name which we given on the TypeScript file. This is the FG, right? Okay, so it should match with this. Okay, then when the user is going to click the submit button, it need to call the submit data method which is present on here, right? Okay, so here it is going to be called this. Now we are going to write the condition. Each control we set one conditions, right? Okay, so one or three conditions or two conditions, we are going to check it, so that under this one particular control div tag, we are going to write the condition div tag. So for that, we are going to first check whether this FG form group, that is a form group, will contains the email, right? Okay, so is it valid or not? Okay, so this invalid is going to be check the conditions for all the control which we all the condition which we return for the email. Okay, so one condition is required, another condition is going to be valid email, another one is going to be pattern. Okay, it is going to check that. Okay, so and it should satisfy any one of this. In case if it is good satisfied any one of this also, this condition is going to be get executed. That is the dirty and touch. Okay, so as I already told that if you don't know about the dirty and touch, please refer the template driven form videos. Here we are going to check the each conditions for email. Okay, so what is the first condition? It is going to be required, right? Okay, so for that email, what is the first condition? It is required. It is going to check whether user given value is satisfy the required field or not. Okay, so in case if it is not satisfied, it is going to throw an error message. Okay, so another condition it is going to check. Okay, so that is ng form group dot get email as an error. Okay, so email is the valid data user given by this valid or not, valid email or not. In case if it is not valid, we are going to print the error message, that is enter a valid email. Okay, so then that should be followed by So we are going to print the another pattern that is going to be we are checking the pattern too. Okay, so in case the pattern which we written on the TypeScript file, it is not get matched means, okay, so we are going to print the error message. Please enter the valid email. Okay, so now you see we are going to run it. Okay, so before that, I'm going to write the CSS design for the small tag. Okay, so for the small tag, it should be give the text in the small. Okay, so in the text in the color should be on red color. Red. Okay, so then I'm just going to give font hyphen size is going to be 12 pixels. 12 pixels. Navigate from this particular username field to the next email field without typing anything. I just touched. Okay, so I'm just navigate to the another control. Now you see it is throwing an email is required. Now I am typing some values. Okay, so then I'm moving to the next field. It is telling that email, please enter valid email, or else it print another message also. Please enter the valid email format. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give at symbol and then 1. Okay, so here you see it is throwing another message. Please enter the valid email format. Okay, so fd.com. Okay, so now it should satisfy. Okay, so here is the even though we are giving this right data, it is throwing an error message. Let's check it on the coding page. Here we given some space over here, just removing it. Okay, so and save it and rerun it. So I'm just going to give same Vinod Kumar at gmail.com. Now you see let's get satisfied. Okay, so we give space over here. That is a mistake which we did. Okay, so once we given right data, so then it is going to not throwing an error message, right? Okay, so now we are going to check other conditions too. Okay, so for the mobile number as well as for the pattern. Okay, so mobile number as well as the pattern. So I'm moving to this HTML file. So for the mobile number, same, we are going to write the div tag. Okay, so what is the conditions? First, we need to under the div tag, we need to check star ng if. Okay, so what I'm going to do, instead of typing all this thing, I'm just copying this. I'm just going to change the only this condition, right? Okay, so this is the mobile number. Okay, so this code is looking like very lengthy, but it's very simple. Okay, so for mobile number, what are the conditions we return? For the mobile number, we is return required as well as the pattern. Okay, so here you see we are going to check this required as well as the pattern. Okay, so we don't want this hash error. Okay, so this email. Okay, so now the pattern and then control. What is the control name for this mobile number? The control name for the mobile number is mobile number. Okay, so here I'm going to write pattern. Okay, so fg.get form group dot get mobile number if it is valid and then invalid and dirty and then touched. Okay, so what and then here first we are going to check is the mobile number values is given by the user or not. In case if they are not going to give, so I'm just going to mention mobile number is required. Mobile number is required. Okay, so then as well as please enter valid mobile number. Okay, so now I'm going to check it. First, navigating to this email. Okay, so here it is throwing an error message. I'm typing this Vinod at gmail.com. Okay, so now you see the error message is went. Okay, so now you see it's throwing mobile number is required. Why? Because we touched this mobile number text box already. So I'm going to give some mobile numbers value. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And mobile number is not throwing means here you see here not calling this. Previously, we need to give 10 digits on the mobile number, right? Even though we are giving the lesser number, it is not throwing an error message. Why? Because in the HTML file, we call this pattern. It should satisfy this pattern. Okay, so that only it's throwing. Now we are calling the correct form control name. Okay, so I'm going to give Vinod at gmail.com and then mobile number. Now you see, after it's satisfying the 10 digits, then only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because we have forgot to give this slash, right? So we need to give properly the slash symbol. Now we are going to check this. So I'm going to check it now. So I'm going to give Vinod at at gmail.com. Mobile number 12345678910. Now you see the error message is fine. Okay, so now we are going to write it for the uh, date of birth. Okay, so same as here. Okay, so here in this date of birth, I'm going to write this condition. Okay, so I'm just going to copy the all the conditions which we already written for the mobile number. I'm copying and pasting over here. Here, I'm just going to change the control name only. Okay, so copy the control name. Okay, so from mobile number to the date of birth. Okay, so now I'm just going to change this, the text also, text field. Okay, so I'm just going to print mm, date of birth is date of birth is required. Okay, so here also I'm just going to print. Okay, enter that date of birth in valid format. YYY and MM and then DD. Okay, so here we need to change one thing, that is instead of pattern. Okay, so we are going to call the customized exception, that is date of birth, right? Okay, so here you see this date of birth method returning the error values on which variable invalid date, right? Okay, so I need to copy this invalid date and I'm going to put it on the pattern. Okay, so in the pattern, instead of pattern, I'm just going to write invalid pad date. Okay, so now I'm going to save it and I'm going to run this code. Okay, so we are refreshing it. Okay, so now username and email. I'm just going to, without entering, I'm just moving to the next control, means it is throwing an error message. I'm just going to type the error message, sorry, my details. Okay, so now you see the error message is when. Okay, so now it is going to navigate to the mobile number. Here we are going to type the details. After typing the values, now you see the error message is went. Okay, so now you see we are going to move to the date of birth. So after, without typing, I'm going to move navigate to the other control, means it is going to throw in both errors. Okay, so now I'm going to type some values, means okay, so 1 2. Okay, so now you see it is telling that please enter the values in the correct format. Okay, so I'm just going to type 2024 hyphen so 03 hyphen 12. Okay, so after typing the values in the right format, the error message is went. Okay, so now you see we are not write the conditions for the username. Okay, so username, so that is for the username, we return the required field only. Okay, so that I'm just going to copy the same conditions which is required return for the mobile number. Okay, so copying that and I'm moving to this username div, under the div. I'm just going to write this condition. Under this div, I'm just writing the condition. Okay, so what is a form control name? It's a username. So I'm just going to get that form control name username, and then if it is dirty, if it is touched. Okay, so if it is required, we don't want, we written only one conditions, right? Okay, so that is required or not. Okay, so here we are going to tell username is required. Okay, save this. I'm moving to the next control without typing. It is throwing an error message. I'm going to give the values Vinod Kumar. Okay, so now is the error message is meant. Okay, so then I'm going to type the email. Okay, so in the email should be on the right format. Once I type the right format, the error message is meant. And mobile number, I'm just going to key in some values. Okay, so now if I going to give this, then it is navigate to the other control. Here I'm going to give the values. So if it is values is not in the right format, it is going to throw an error message. Okay, so 25 hyphen some values. If I'm going to give one also, it is going to not accept. Why? Because the date is to be 2 digits. Okay, so now you see it's get accepted. Hope you understand how to implement the reactive form and along with the customized validations and pattern, how to print the error message on the form. So in the upcoming videos, I'm going to post how to insert those value into the database, JSON database. If you like this video, please share this video with your friends. Please don't forget to click the subscribe button and bell button.